All right, everybody, welcome back to the Shakedown. Tonight, we are going to be reading Chapter 4 of No Guts, No Story. Please excuse the eyeshadow. I took a nap after my son's show today, and I did not clean it off, and I don't care. So let's get into this. Hello, guys. So just to recap real quick, basically in a nutshell, Barb Pitcock has said that they were super poor, but they were running like 1,000 businesses. She also talks about how she had nothing growing up, but wanted for nothing. I don't understand. All right, let's just dive right in because I don't want to spend my entire night reading this. The Decision That Changed Our Lives, Chapter 4. It was the spring of 1996 when my life, as I knew it, was about to change. Okay, so one sentence in. One of the things we notice in the first 3 chapters is that she says all the time, this thing would change my life forever as I knew it. And then something else happens. This would change my life forever as I knew it. So many things changed her life forever. Yes, I am eating ice cream. That was such a good bite. I'm sorry, I wanted to savor that bite. I would often wonder, why is this happening to me? At a time when it was hard to find enough change to buy formula for the babies, or change at the toll booth, let alone make the car or mortgage payment, my husband informed me that he had found a way for us to become rich. Little did Dave know, I had no belief in the so-called home-based industry. Dave was so excited as he explained the concept I had heard so many times. I didn't have the heart to tell him that I had previously worked about a dozen companies, and this was not a new idea. There are hundreds of companies out there, and if you work once and build an organization of people that use the products, you get paid for the rest of your life with residual income that is money that comes in every month, even if you stop working. This income is based on the products that are ordered through your network because you told someone about the product who in turn persuaded someone else, and this grows to create a consumer base for the company. Depending on the volume of products ordered, the commissions can be huge. Hey, Andrea. And I had met millionaires who made their fortunes in this arena. There was no question that it was a brilliant concept. I just hadn't experienced the results that so many of them said you could experience. My grandfather had been successful in several of these kinds of companies when I was growing up and even earned a free car. So we all know, if you've been paying attention to anti-MLM content, it's not free. However, that wasn't the case with the companies I had worked so hard for. I believed in it at one time. It was something I had tried since my sophomore year in high school. At this time in my life, the faith I had that this little home-based business would be the answer to my prayers was slim to none. That week, I had been on my knees praying that God would deliver us from debt. I prayed that I wouldn't have to leave our babies every day and go to a job that was paying me just enough to get by. And lately, it wasn't even doing that. The answer I was looking for was not the answer I got. But today, I can laugh about it. I was furious to learn that Dave, the rodeo cowboy in blue jeans and boots who had a fear of people like most of us fear dying, was now the proud new distributor of a home-based business. He was very shy with an introverted type of personality. Those two things mean the exact same thing. I'm so glad you finished dinner. Dave would be the quiet guy that stood back and listened, not the first guy to initiate a conversation. And I had no idea where he had found the money, but it cost over $1,000. Red flag alert. He had purchased a distributor or sales kit and an additional $1,000 in products. So he had spent $1,035 plus shipping and tax to get started. And in 1996, that was a tremendous amount of money. His friend had called weekly to see if he had watched the video he left with us and if we were ready to join the venture with him. Each week, I assured Dave that there was no money in the checking account to join this venture with his friend. Obviously, when Dave was in Kansas City, he had found the money, not knowing until later that he had borrowed a relative's credit card. This is like awful. There was something about Dave that was different from many people. Yeah, I'll say he took a relative's credit card and started a pyramid scheme. Hold on, time for a bite of ice cream. He had so much hope, and he was full of enthusiasm about our future. I was quick to cut him right down to size and let him know that all those companies paint a pie in the sky picture to get you to join. How is it that she saw it? Then. Oh, wait, I know, because then she was able to figure out how to get rich. Okay. He didn't let my negativity faze him as he smiled and put the video in our VCR, blaring loudly enough that I could hear it in the kitchen. As I did the dishes and wiped off the high chairs, I was letting him have it in my mind. Why would he spend the money and join something without me? I was stomping and fuming with anger and shock, since we had never had a fight in the few years we had been together. I bit my tongue until the end of the video as I watched this infomercial king persuade his viewers with a serious look and a phrase I had heard by so many giants in this industry. Hi, Michelle. He said, "We'll see you on the beaches of the world." And that's when I lost it. "We'll see you on the beaches of the world," I mocked as I scrubbed the Cheerios off of the tray and the ramen noodles out of the pan. "Wow, he sold you, didn't he?" I asked sarcastically. It was a quiet night at the Pitcock house, but in the back of my mind, the dreams I had years ago were stirring. What if this is it? What if this could work? I remember telling Dave I didn't care if he did it, that he was not to tell any of my friends or clients from the salon or dance moms from my dance school or any of our relatives. Well, that's your entire warm market, Barb. That's a terrible idea. I hoped it would work for his sake, but I wasn't going to get my friends involved in the next new thing smoking through town. It's too good to be true, I thought, and I rolled over trying to get some sleep, with nagging thoughts of our drawer full of bills and the calls from creditors in the back of my mind. It was hard to sleep before with the anxiety of everything we had happening in our lives, but this new venture made it even harder. Isn't she just trying to relate to every American who's struggling right now? The next night was the big meeting Dave had planned, and everyone was coming over. I was so concerned about helping him get his money back. I even called a few people just because I felt sorry for him. I think my invitation went something like this. You probably wouldn't be interested, but Dave joined this business for $1,000. He is having a meeting tonight. Some big guy from Nebraska is coming if you want to stop by. If you're not interested, that is okay. I understand, but I thought I'd invite you over. Possibly due to my great invitation, there was nobody there at 7, and at 7:15, we watched our friends drive by and stare at the empty driveway. Did your friends really just intentionally drive past the house? Did you watch them? Okay. I had invited my previous sponsor and his wife, who drove by rejoicing that we were having a no-show. Like, people don't do that when it's not the movies. People don't intentionally drive by. I mean, and if you do, you're not a nice person. We had spent years together after he introduced me to a company one day as I was cutting his wife's hair. I could understand why they might not want to join another company. We had worked so hard together in the past as we struggled to achieve success, but were never successful enough to experience the fulfillment of our dreams and goals. It was tough to get your hopes up again and not to think about the past. But I thought they could at least come over and listen, as I had done when they invited me to look at something. Nana Lou, friends don't lie. Friends don't do that. And I think of Stranger Things. Friends don't lie. The other young woman who was a no-show was my other colleague in the same business and was one of my best friends. She was circling our block to see if anyone had come. Like, what are all these cars just like circling your neighborhood? I mean, at that point, I would call the cops. And suddenly came down the alley just as I was leaving to pick up the kids from the babysitter I really couldn't afford. I thought she was going to run over me when she failed to turn her headlights on until she was right upon my vehicle. I was so humiliated. I knew it would be this way for Dave when he joined the business and was rejected by people who didn't come to our meetings or made fun of our home-based business. I could not believe this was happening. Really? Couldn't you? At the last minute, I invited the nail technician from the salon to our meeting, hoping she would stay for the meeting. Say meeting one more time. Dave called his mom to ask her to come, just to ease the embarrassment of having someone who was actually successful drive 5 hours to our home, prepared to share the plan to the 40 plus people he had invited. Did I read that weird? Whatever, moving on. Dave's mother joined us in this new venture. Oh, good. So you got a recruit, and it was your mom. But Chris, my nail technician, didn't say much as she dropped off the salon tails and left quickly. I felt sorry for Dave, but part of me was doing the "I told you so" dance as we folded up the 40 chairs and put away the drinks, cookies, and all the fine dishes I had put out to entertain. I knew better when I set it up, but with all of Dave's optimism, I wanted my home to look nice for our guests. That evening, we had the most important conversation of our lives. Oh, I'm sorry, of our career. I assumed he was going to say lives. When the big guy showed up to present this meeting, I thought at first that he was one of Dave's friends. There was not a slick Willie in a suit. There was not a slick Willie in a suit and tie look for this guru. The guy who came to present the business opportunity to us arrived in blue jeans, tube socks, and a Western shirt. I mentioned the tube socks because he took his manure-covered Western boots off at the door. He had made a fortune in the industry in a prior venture. I felt comfortable with him, and there was an aura about him that convinced me he was real. So was the cow manure. I didn't feel the need to have him prove how much money he made. He was confident in the business he was involved in and eager to help us to get started making money. Of course, he wanted you to make money so he could make more money. Duh. He turned the chair around and straddled it. Ooh, sexy. Yeah. Slick Willie the suit, name of his sex tape. Oh, man. Sitting just a few feet from Dave and me and said, "Don't worry about tonight. You guys are just getting started." He asked us when the best time would be for him to come back. He mentioned that he had brought a case of promotional videos that explain how the business works to make you successful and gives information about the company we joined. Can you imagine doing this before social media, though? When it was all VHS tapes people gave you? That sounds dreadful. He gave them to us to give away to our friends to help us launch our business. Can you fathom walking around with a whole bunch of VHSs and then just like handing them out? It was a good thing because I couldn't imagine buying videos. After all, we had just spent more money to get involved than we had in all of our accounts combined. This man made an investment in us that night. He may have had no idea it would pay dividends like it did, but surely his confidence in us was more than we had in ourselves. Like, notice how she's not named this man. He has no name. Isn't that convenient? He started us in a way that we had no choice. Failure was not an option. We had to make this work. We made a commitment to come the following Tuesday back to our living room at the same time and said, "Get these videos in the hands of everyone you know." Oh my God, I had an MLMer give me a cassette tape in 2012. That's horrifying. "Get these videos in the hands of everyone you know. Some of your friends will have an interest. Sign them up and put them on your top level. The first ones involved could end up with $1 million spots because of the way the sales commissions are structured, and you need to let them know that. Let them bring their friends, and we will help them get their money back too. I'll see you next Tuesday." Did she intentionally? "I'll see you next Tuesday." He handed me an audio cassette and told me to listen to it before I invited anyone else. I didn't want to tell him my preconceived notions about audio tapes for motivational training. Why? Because you had seen that episode of Friends. I had been in another company back in 1988 and had more audio cassettes than the entire music section at Walmart could house, I bet. I had listened to so many tapes to learn and implement the principles they claimed would lead to success, but for some reason, this had never worked well for me. I couldn't imagine plugging in another tape. My previous failures were sending me signals saying, "Don't go there again." Barb, that's called cognitive dissonance. Where did I leave off? I resisted the negative thoughts in my subconscious mind, but this small voice in my head was saying, "Barb, you spent money you don't have. You invited every friend you had in the 80s and sponsored them to join a business and buy and sell products. And they didn't have any success. In fact, Neither did you. You are a fool if you do this again. You don't have any time. You don't have any money. And if you go this route, you won't have any friends left either. You are making all of the points for me, Barb. Thanks. But you're also, what she's doing is she's using the anti-MLM playbook because they're all legitimate arguments, and then she's going to try and negate them. It was hard to be positive, but I was drawn to this business in some way. What if this one would work? The previous businesses were never a scam. They were always good companies. I think it just wasn't the right timing. All of the elements weren't in place. Either everyone had already heard about them and there were too many people involved, or they weren't well structured. Yeah. Yep, that's the problem, Barb. I had never seen Dave this excited about anything. Notice that she's also not saying what the company is or what the product even was, like what type of product. Not only did I feel unsure of myself, but the guy was driving back all the way from Nebraska again next Tuesday. I was nervous and uncertain. I had lots of responsibilities, including 2 babies, and listening to tapes was just one more thing I would have to fit in. He left a book called The Magic of Thinking Big. I didn't know how to break the news to the gentleman that busy moms don't have time to sit around reading a book all day. I had never been a reader, and I wasn't about to start now. He suggested that tracks. He suggested reading just the first chapter, just the tip. I added that part. Dave read it immediately, and I was resentful that he was sitting around reading. How dare you sit around reading, Dave? After all, I hadn't sat down all week. Really, Barb, for an entire week, you stood the entire week. If I was a bit negative in my own way, it didn't stop Dave from doing everything he was taught by those who had introduced him to the business. He was by the book on everything they told him to do. He even started talking about dreams and goals and putting them up on our refrigerator. Oh no, I said, we are not pasting our dreams all over. My family will bust a gut laughing when they come over and think we are crazy. We are about to lose our cars, and you want to put a picture of a new truck on the fridge? He didn't really care about my family and their opinions. He was focused on this business, and he was on a mission. Dave put the tapes in his truck and tried to preach to me each day, but I, being the network marketing expert from the past, didn't think I could be taught anything else. He for sure wasn't going to teach me anything. I had been involved in Amway, Avon, House of Lloyd, Mary Kay, Arbonne, Equinox, Christmas Around the World, and too many others to mention. That's way too many for how young you are. My grandmother was a distributor for Fuller Brush. I thought that said Fuller Bush. We're going to call it Fuller Bush just for shits and giggles. My grandmother was a distributor for Fuller Bush, and my grandfather actually earned a free car with Nancy weight loss system. I just couldn't bear the thought of another network marketing experience. I worked hard at most of the companies I had joined. I might have worked harder for the last few, but I didn't have the support from my sponsor. One person came to the salon and signed me up for a $50 marketing kit, but I never heard much from her again. Many times distributors like her made the mistake of thinking that's all about how many marketing kits they sell, but they also make commissions on that person's sale of products, creating a chain of sales commission. The distributor should act as a sponsor by supporting the people who buy the kits and teaching them how to be a good salesperson. Oh my God. If people only sell or buy the marketing kits and do little else, they become just another statistic of the many who join a network marketing company and end up making no money. I definitely did not want to be another one of those statistics. My mother had 2 brothers who were always calling her about the next venture they found. And I was sure not going to be the person in our family that everyone laughed at and questioned about joining another business. The sentence structure of this book is so bad. All these companies were good companies, and they all had great products. But in my mind, the object was to become financially free. Financial freedom was my dream. I prayed for relief from the stress and our debt, but I wanted to send God a small note that said, wrong answer, when this answer came. Little did I know this business could change our lives forever. God, we should start drinking every time she says change our lives forever. 5 days later, when I finally listened to the tape that man had put in my hands, I wished I had listened to it earlier. On it was a story that made inviting my friends very natural and actually kind of fun. I will never forget hearing the story. It made so much sense. It went something like this. Imagine walking up and there is a money tree in your backyard. This tree is covered in money, and there is plenty for you and all of your friends. But for the first day, you can only invite 4 people to share in your fortune. As you pick off the money, it will replenish itself. Then those first 4 people can also invite some friends, but you have to keep it limited to those who you care about the most. If you were standing in your nightgown getting your first cup of coffee in the morning when you noticed this tree, how would you react? Would you call your friends and say, I don't know if you would be interested. You don't have to come over, but there is money falling off the tree in my backyard. I can only tell 4 people. So I called you first, but don't feel bad if you aren't interested. Heck no, you wouldn't talk like that. You might say something more like this. You are going to faint when you see what I just found. This is amazing. Get over here right now. What? You are busy? Stop what you are doing. It is going to blow your mind. What a difference when you believe and know that what you are offering is so good and that you will have a positive impact on the friend you are calling. The thing I was missing was belief. I didn't want my friends to get hurt. I didn't want to be embarrassed that I got them into something negative. I didn't want them to feel like they were being got, and I didn't want to be getting them. I just wanted to make some money, and I needed some people to get involved. You're literally describing a pyramid scheme. Hey, Melanie. The interesting, is there an entrance fee for the backyard and a monthly minimum, Nanalu? Probably. That's the thing. A money tree that is literally producing money that you can just come and walk in and take without no effort is just clearly not the same thing. It's just not the same thing. And the fact that anybody would compare any business to a tree that grows money is an idiot. Where was I? I psyched myself out prior to calling a friend in another town, and I used the money tree story to get my enthusiasm up. My results changed immediately. It doesn't matter what you are selling or what you are trying to persuade someone to buy into. You must first believe that it is the best thing that could have ever happened to you in your lifetime. That is literally how religion has, okay. Not only do you have to have that kind of belief, you need to know what to say and to not say too much. I was the type of person that could go on for an hour without taking a breath. Could you? Could you, Barbie? Could you go on for an hour without taking a breath? Dave was convinced the person on the other end of the phone had probably laid the phone down on their sofa and was dusting their entire house while I was getting winded from enthusiasm on the end of my phone. On my end of the phone. I said too much and I cured their curiosity. There was obviously no reason for them to come and sit through a meeting. I had told them all about it. If you are in sales or marketing, you must find a mentor you can learn from. My mentor taught me a lot about invitations. Was your mentor Emily Post? You need to pique their curiosity, but don't cure it. You have to leave them hungry for information if you want them to come see what you have to offer. When you think about it, people tend to put up resistance and be defensive when you invite them to look at a venture for the first time. Most people are busy, financially strapped, have been in at least one home-based business before, and are skeptical. And I was all of these, and yet I ended up a new distributor. How did that happen? If you were to ask most people who are new distributors, they weren't necessarily standing around with their hand in the air saying, pick me, invite me to join you in your business. Most people are skeptical and are either too busy or they don't have the time and interest to put into one more thing. Many people do not have the money to get started in a business, and those who do aren't always willing to risk it. The ticket to getting someone to look at what you are doing is to tell them a story and for you to believe it. Think about this for a minute. I say to you, I want you to come and look at a business. What do you feel? What do you feel, guys? If I tell you to come look at a business, Courtney, we're reading No Guts, No Story, the Barbie Pitcock anthology or memoirs. Now think about this statement. I have to tell you what happened. You are probably going to think I am crazy. Or say, you won't believe what we did this week. If someone offers to share with you a story or a joke, you draw near to them, eager to hear. However, if someone tries to sell you on something, your human instinct is to debate and find reasons not to do it. You have to be more careful not to get too excited and share all of the details. Less is more for your invitation. Just invite them and get a commitment. After you have an appointment, get off the phone. Pique their curiosity, but don't cure it. You have to leave them hungry for information. She's literally repeating the same thing she said above here. You have to leave them hungry for information if you want them to come see what you have to offer. Once I learned this lesson, my business forever changed. Take a shot. The 42 people no-show meeting could have been the end of our story in that company, but instead, it was the night that turned our business around. The tape I listened to was worth its weight in gold. I had found a mentor that I couldn't get enough of, and I wanted every tape this lady had ever made. Oh, Dave, on the other hand, was listening to a 2-tape set teaching him how to get our business started quickly. Some of us relate to stories and others relate to philosophies. My new philosophy. It takes discipline to listen and learn, but it sure does make a difference in your relationships, your income, and your happiness. If you can find someone who inspires you to be excited about your life and have hope in your future. A mentor is vital for your success in anything you do. This person should be someone you look up to as to who you look up to, who has had the success you desire and has achieved the results you want to achieve. Think of this person as your trainer or coach, and make sure you are learning from someone who has actually done the job you are pursuing. I encourage people to find a mentor that they can relate to and to soak up all of their knowledge like a SpongeBob SquarePants. The tapes that Dave listened to shared some startling information he couldn't wait to tell me about. 5 years from now, you will be the average of your 5 closest friends. What does that even mean? If we were to become the average of our 5 closest friends, it was obvious to us that we needed to find some new friends. Oh my God. That was hard because I liked my friends. I looked at their income levels, their relationships, and their futures, and it was hard for me to swallow that this would be us unless we changed. Okay, so because of their income levels, you were ready to just get rid of your friends? You sound like terrible people. I definitely wanted to go down a different road from where they were headed. I didn't have any other friends. Who would we do things with? A lot of changes were happening in our lives, and I prayed that it would be for the good. Guys, that's the end of that chapter. That's the end of that chapter. Megan, you're going to have to go back and watch the replay because that chapter is over. Let me see how long chapter 5 is. Oh my God. She breaks down the startup cost. These chapters are shorter. These chapters are far shorter. So basically in chapter 4, she puts together a delicious word salad, about having a good sponsor and tells a story that could have been told in 5 minutes over the course of, I don't know, 20 pages, maybe less than that, because it's so bad. So that was tonight's bedtime reading. Do you have any questions? I'm starting to feel like maybe I should start reading other books. Like maybe I should start a children's channel where I just like read children's books. There's probably royalties for that. I don't know. I mean, melted ice cream. Why would they want to hang with you, small fry? Right. And that's the thing. You've got friends, Barb. How do you have time for friends? You said you have literally no time in your life. Okay. You also have no money. So what do you do with said friends? And if your friends are the average of all of your friends, you're bringing down their average. So they should probably get rid of you. Just as like a thought. Just a thought. Yeah, do we have any questions before I wrap up tonight's story time? Did everybody watch this month's Shakedown? Have we watched it yet? It's pretty good, I think. I think it's pretty good. While I wait for any questions, I'm going to check my messages real quick. I don't know. All right. If there's no questions about tonight's reading, the test will be posted. Could you imagine if this was like a course, a college course? What would even the... I don't know. Oh, I'm so glad, Megan, that you enjoyed chapter 4. All right. I'm going to go. It's getting hot in my office because I don't turn the air on while I'm recording. All right, friends. Thanks for being here, and I will chat with you all later. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck? A woodchuck would chuck all of the wood, but leave enough that we can still have oxygen. That's what I think. That is what I think. Let me actually, before I leave, let me see if anybody wants to hop on and entertain the masses with me. Y'all just stick around because you never know what might happen tonight. Well, I should go. I should, but you know how I am. What is going on with all of you? How was your day? Today's Saturday. Did we all have a good Saturday? Oh, Jenny Wild is watching Gray Man. I don't know what that is. I am also rewatching Stranger Things. I did I'm halfway through season 2. Love rewatching Stranger Things. It's so good to see some of the nuances and the things that like connect. I'm sewing and hanging. Just got done working out with Cody Rigsby. Oh, look at you. Good for you working out. Like just in general working out. That's pretty great. I'm over here eating ice cream and loving my squishy belly. You're in the garden with your cat. That sounds so serene. Chill day, did laundry, played on phone. Oh my God, that sounds amazing. That sounds like, man, I just want like 3 days where I'm alone in the house. The house is clean. I don't want to be alone in the house to clean the house. I want to be alone in the house. House is clean. Laundry's done. And I just can watch whatever I want. Maybe go out, cut the grass, do some exercising, watch TV, binge watch a show, have food delivered, and nobody need anything from me. I don't want 1 day of that. I want like 3 days consecutive. Because by the end of like day 2, I'll probably be ready to like get moving again. But I think day 3... Loved his shout out today. Yeah. Oh, in my video. Yeah. Because he's adorable. And he's like making waves in the TikTok sound community. Cody Rigsby is. So, all right, I am going to go. Always, yeah, I live near a creek. So I live like in the woods, but I also live right off of a main road in our town. And it's at an intersection. I actually live in like a busy city, town, whatever. But we live like basically right on an intersection. So when there's an accident, and we live by two hospitals, but by a creek in the woods, it's all very strange. So whenever there's an accident or they're heading to the hospital, the sirens go blaring, and they always turn them on at intersections so people know too. Oh, Lori, I'm so sorry. Well, Lori, I can hang out for a minute. You can watch the replay. I did read chapter 4. It is a short chapter. Chapters 4, 5, 6, 7, they look to be short. So maybe they're going to get shorter and shorter. Okay, everybody's busy, so nobody's hopping on. So they might get shorter and shorter, which is fine. Yeah, please check out the shakedown that dropped today. And I'm also thinking I'm going to start an interview series. So if you're on here, I actually want to talk to all of you too. I don't want to just interview. I really enjoy interviewing people. I don't have a ton of time, so I'm thinking about trying to pack a lot of interviews in August and then space out. And I don't want to do a podcast. I don't want to deal with like podcasts. Like YouTube is what I know. I'm going to stick with YouTube. But I would love to interview people, just not only people who have been, surviving MLMs. I would love to talk to people who have survived bullying, people who have any kind of story of mental health that they overcame, anything, you know what I mean? Like everybody has a story, and I would love to interview people and just get to know all of the different facets of our lives that we have overcome. And I think it would be really cool. So if you are watching right now and you have any kind of story that you would like to share, I would love to interview you about it and ask you about it. Because I really am enjoying that aspect of this, getting to know people. So if you are interested, send me a message on Instagram, or you can email me at idon'twantnohuns@gmail.com. And I would love to talk to people. I've always been interested in it, but not sure if I would end up embarrassing myself. Megan, here's the thing about that though. Like, if you end up, like, I'm a really good editor. I can edit out anything, but embarrassing yourself, I encourage you to ask the question, embarrassing yourself in front of who? Who would you be embarrassed? Because I believe, and I want you to like take this with the utmost love that I am offering it. I believe that embarrassment is a choice. And I decided that for myself around the age of 20, 21. I choose if I'm going to feel embarrassed about something, because what is embarrassment, right? When we feel embarrassment, it's because somebody is judging us for something that we don't want to be judged for. But if I choose to not be embarrassed by it, then that means I take that power away from other people to be embarrassed by them, or be embarrassed from them. How do I want to phrase that? Do you know what I mean? So I say this not to be like, I hope you know the way that I mean it, but I do believe that embarrassment is a choice. And we have been taught that certain behaviors, certain things are embarrassing. And I think that it's a choice that we've been taught to make. So we don't realize it's a choice. And that's why, I don't get embarrassed by like anything anymore. Like if I fall in public, I have learned to just stand still or sit still, lay still. Just don't move. Just lay there for a minute and then laugh. Even if you're in pain, laugh through the pain. Or if you are in very, very terrible pain, just feel it, because you're in pain. And why be embarrassed of screaming in pain. So let's just say I fall in Target and I break my leg. I'm probably going to do that now next week. Okay. Say I fall in Target and I break my leg. Is that embarrassing if I cry and like I'm screaming out in pain in Target? Well, for some people it could be embarrassing, but it's because we were taught that behavior, that scenario is embarrassing. We were taught that. But if I'm in immense pain, I have taught myself to no longer think about how I'm looking. What are people thinking of me? Because my only thought is, I'm in immense pain. I'm going to react the way that I feel I need to react. And I'm not going to care. And later, I'm not going to care if people, oh my God, people must have thought I was crazy. I have really worked hard to change that language of people must have thought. I don't care what people must have thought. I went into Target today with no bra on. Like, I was wearing this shirt. I don't have huge boobs, but I don't care. I'm not embarrassed. I went to the liquor store the other night in my pajamas and like lumpy and pudgy, like just, it was all there. And my husband, God love him, he was like, are you going to go to the store in your pajamas? And I was like, yes, I'm not embarrassed because I'm choosing to not be. I don't care what anybody else thinks, because I don't need to know what anyone else thinks. Now on the internet, it's a little different because we get comments. People will leave us comments. They will tell us what they think. They will tell us if they don't like what we say or they don't like what we do, but we can choose how we respond to that. We can choose how we can make that choice, right? And I have worked on how I respond to comments when people, like today, somebody left me a comment on the shakedown saying, are you really reporting on this Feetgate thing? Is this news to you? No, it's not news to me. What's news, what is comment worthy, is the scenario, is how it all unfolded. It could have been about anything. Yes, Melanie, braless on vacation. Absolutely. No bra forever. But it's about, I love you too, Michelle. It's about, wait, what was I saying? Oh, so if you haven't watched the Shakedown episode today, I talk about how on a small sect of the anti-MLM Instagram community genre, because a lot of these people don't like to use the word community anymore, which is their prerogative. There was like a feet pick gate happening. And I talk about, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of it right now because I already cover it in the video. But the way that the series of the events unfolded, it could have been anything. It could have been about anything. It didn't have to be about feet pics. It could have been about, wearing a tube top. It could have been about showing, your tramp stamp. Like it could have been about anything. It was about the reaction. It was about the unfolding of events. But in order to talk about it, though, I also talked about sex work. And in no part of any of that, like, it wasn't about the content. And this person was like, is this really news to you? You're missing the point. No, it's not news that so-and-so was offended that someone else thought they were selling feed pics, or they weren't offended, or they thought that they were trying to shame them. That's not the news. That's not the news. The news is how they made the choice to be embarrassed. They made the choice to feel defensive. They made the choice to expose it in the first place. They made these choices because of preconceived notions. Oh gosh, no, Lori, your Feedgate comment was totally appropriate. So Melanie, Feedgate was a joke. It was a joke hashtag. There was a brief, and that's the thing, is like people, and I don't name names, I use code names. Go watch the video. It's gonna be anything. It's gonna be too much for me to go back into right now. Okay, go watch the video. I cover it. I talk about sex work first and why I feel that it is a legitimate side hustle. If you yourself, I will recap this part here. Okay. I talk about the history of sex work in this video, the history of prostitution, how prostitution is in the Bible. It's been around for ages, and it only became taboo. It only became immoral and sinful when religion really got its hooks in it, right? And it's because we have, as a religious society, and I don't mean America, I don't mean the world, people who are in religion, people who are in this organized religion world, look for the part with old Ben in the background. Yeah, that's good. If you want to go, yeah. The religious world of Earth has decided that it's immoral. And if you really look at the history of how that came to be, it roots back to, from my research, and there may be more to it, but in what I found, it roots back to Christianity. Okay, so yeah, Big Ben the clock. It's Big Ben. Big Ben. We're talking about the clock. So if you're going through if you're going through the video to find this segment, the portion where I Photoshop myself into pictures from London, right after that is where I talk about the feet gate. Right before that is where I talk about the history of sex work. Okay. But I wanted to, since I started talking about it here, I do want to state my stance on sex work because it is a really taboo subject, right? And it's taboo. And you might feel, if you're listening to this, that it is immoral and it's wrong and no one should do it. But the way I view this is that it's not the work I am doing. I am not a sex worker. And I have no place to tell anyone that is, whether it's right or wrong. Because and again, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's right or wrong. I don't think it's wrong, personally. I don't do it, but it's part of it is because I was raised Catholic. So like, there's just a part of me that's never going to be able to get over that hump, right? But I don't think it's wrong because people who aren't religious, people who are atheists, why should they have to choose how they make their money based on your values, my values, society's values, right? And you know what? Here's a really great point. Prostitution is one of the oldest jobs in the world. It is literally everything. Okay. So it's not what I'm doing. I am not a sex worker, but sex workers should not have to be subject to disease and poor work conditions and abuse just because you don't agree with it. And you, not meaning you viewers, okay, but like people in general. They should not be subjected to it. It doesn't matter if you think it's wrong. And this all connects to like everything, I believe. You don't have to agree with abortion. You can be anti-abortion all day long. Then don't get an abortion. But that does not mean that the people who do should have to go to the back alley and get a coat hanger abortion because you don't want them to have access to a safe one. So it all connects, right, for me. Currently living with my Fox News watching parents. I always have to explain to them that not everyone is in their book club. Yeah. So that segues into what was Feedgate. Okay. And I really encourage you to go watch it because the whole unfolding of events was just funny. It was just funny. And I don't agree and still value life. Exactly. Like Nana Lou, you don't have to agree with sex work, but those people deserve to live. They deserve to be members of society. They deserve to go to church. They deserve to volunteer. They deserve to be treated like normal citizens, regardless of what they do. And this is why it is different from multi-level marketing, right? Because somebody left me a comment one time that said, how is your, damning of this industry of MLMs different, and why aren't you damning this? Well, because multi-level marketing companies affect all people. In order for me to succeed, I need you. But if I'm a sex worker, okay, I don't want to say that out loud, like, because I'm not, but if someone is a sex worker, they don't need to go recruit more sex workers. They just have to be, and people will come to them. So it's just very, very, it's a different level of what we deem to be moral. The morality of doing something that does not affect other people and doing something that affects other people, right? So if you think that sex work is immoral, then don't do it. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be kind and loving to anyone that you find out is a sex worker. If you find out that somebody that you know is a stripper, who cares? Let them alone. Let them still be who they are. It is because of those stereotypes that these people end up in these shitty situations anyhow. So it's all about just being kind to one another. Like, it goes back to just be kind to one another. Which, speaking of what, never mind. I'm not going to say what I was about to say. So I give the history of sex work, though, to make sure that anyone knows that my coverage of the Feetgate situation, which it wasn't even that big of a situation, but the Feetgate situation, I was not in any way shaming or damning anyone. I wanted to be clear on my stance. I think that if it is self-employed, prostitution should be legalized so that the people who choose to work in the industry can have the benefits of the body. Yeah, I mean, can pimping be ethical? I think that the word pimping in general has too many negative connotations, right? So, like, for instance, when you looked at brothels, there was a madam. Okay, a madam was essentially the pimp, right? She maybe had a couple clients, but she took care of all the girls in the house. She took care of all of the girls in the house. She assigned the people. She took care of everything. She was the pimp, but she was the madam. So she wasn't beating these girls, but the word pimp has such a abusive let's not even say negative connotation, abusive connotation to it, right? But when we look at brothels, there was the madam, and she was the mother. She took care of everybody. Or was she their security? Yeah, madam was like, she was just like, okay, here's a good, have you ever seen the movie musical Best Little Whorehouse in Texas? It stars Dolly Parton and Burt Reynolds. I highly recommend it. It's just a fun romp in the hay. And if you love a big group of dancing men, there's an entire football team that has a great dance number because they win the football game. And the prize is to go to this brothel. Okay, so and here's the thing, I was raised Catholic and I was exposed to this movie, okay, because it's just fun. But Dolly Parton is the madam. She plays Miss Mona. And she does not take any lovers. She runs the house. The only lover she has is Burt Reynolds, who's the sheriff. And so she takes care of those girls. So I don't think that I would say, right? Because she's also not going out and recruiting more prostitutes. I don't know. My husband is old school and can't believe people are on phones all the time, especially on planes. His last year he said he found a really nice lady to talk to. She was a stripper from Atlantic City. Yeah. Sure, I do know that. Yeah, I did know that it was based on true story. I don't know how heavily, but football games. So yeah, so I just really love now being on the side of the anti-MLM community, where I'm really just observing, and not even that much when I do. And it's so funny because when I do observe, that's when these little things start to take off. And I'm like, what's going on here? And I go and I look and I go back and forth to the stories and I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody's being mean to each other. Oh man, it's just too much. It's too much. So in any case, go check out The Shakedown. I think it's a pretty good episode. I also interview Jerry from the Warehouse, a character played by Jenny Wild. Please go see it. And if you have a story that you would like to share, and again, it doesn't have to be anti-MLM at all, any story that you overcome, something you just want to talk about, I would love to interview you. Pretty accurate. The porter was based on an actual porter named Marvin Zindler. He was a flashy. Oh, very cool. I should look more into the history of that show. Yeah, I really should. All right. I am going to head out because it is getting very sticky in my office. Thanks for this lovely conversation. And we'll be back soon with chapter 5, if I can tolerate it. And if you can tolerate it. All right. Bye, guys.